let's have a look at how we form and solve simultaneous equations. So, here's an example. We're told that Hugh has 3 times as many marbles as Kristen, and if Kristen had another 20 marbles, she would have had twice as many as Hugh. How many marbles did each person have? Okay, so let's find the important information. Hugh had 3 times as many marbles as Kristen, and if Kristen had another 20 marbles, she would have had twice as many as Hugh. Alright, first step is always to define our variables. Alright, so step number 1 is define the variables. And in this case, think about what was that we've been asked to do. We've been asked how many marbles did each person have. So there are 2 people, okay? There is Hugh and there is Kristen. And we've been asked to find out how many marbles they each had. So I'm going to say let H equal the number of marbles that Hugh had. And K is going to be the number of marbles that Kristen had. Okay, so that's my first step, is to define my variables. The second step is to write the equations. Okay, and this is often, this can take a little bit of thinking about, particularly when in this case they've got words here where they talk about twice as many or 3 times as many. That's an important thing that we need to know how to deal with. So let's start with that. Hugh had 3 times as many marbles as Kristen. So that tells me that if, say Kristen had 10 marbles, okay, then Hugh would have 3 times as many. He would have 30 marbles. So if I wrote the equation, which is the default, what students would often do, is to write 3h equals k. Does 3 times 30 equal 10? No, it doesn't. So this is a very common mistake. So when you talk about this twice as many or 3 times as many, always think the opposite, okay? So what we do know is that 30 is equal to 3 times 10. So my equation is I want h is equal to 3 times the number that Kirsten had. So if I multiply the amount that Kirsten had by 3, that gives me the number of marbles that Hugh has. Okay, so there is our first equation, h equals 3k, equation number 1. Now we need to work out equation number 2. Let me just delete that bit. All right. So we've told that if Kirsten had another 20 marbles, so if Kirsten had another 20, so if I add on 20 to the amount that Kirsten had, then she would have had equals twice as many as Hugh. So again, twice as many as Hugh. Okay, so there's our second equation. K plus 20, not H. K plus 20 is equal to 2H, equation number 2. Now, third step, so first step was to find the variables, second step was write the equations, third step is to actually solve it. Okay, so that's step number 3, is to solve. So I can choose either the elimination or substitution method, whichever I personally prefer. When I look at this one, the first equation has h equals 3k. So this is already in a nice form for me to use substitution. So that's the method I'm going to choose to do for this particular one. So I am going to say substitute equation number 1 into equation number 2. So my equation number 2 is k plus 20 equals 2h. And I am going to substitute h with 3k. Okay, so that means in place of the h there, so I'm going to leave all that alone, in place of this h, I'm going to replace that with 3k. So I've substituted in. Now, let's expand out the brackets. K plus 20 equals 2 times 3k gives me 6k. Now I need to rearrange. I want all the k's on the left-hand side and all the numbers on the right-hand side. And in fact, I'm just going to flip this whole equation around the other side. So 6k equals k plus 20. And that means I need to move one thing. So I'm going to leave the 6k, leave the equals, leave the 20, and I'm just going to move that k there across, and so it goes from being positive to being negative k. So let's now simplify. 6k take away k is 5k equals 20. One last step, get rid of that 5 in front. The opposite of multiplying by 5 is dividing by 5. So divide both sides by 5 and I get k equals 4. All right, so what have I just found? Well, k stands for, if we go back to our definition, the number of marbles that Kristen had. So that tells me that Kristen had 4 marbles. Okay, but I need to still find out how many marbles, because I need to find how many marbles each person had, so I still need to find how much Hugh had. So what I need to do now is I need to go back to these equations and substitute and find the other solution. I need to find the value of h. So I could choose to use equation 1 or 2. Equation 1 was already nicely in the form h equals stuff, so I'm going to use that one. So I am going to substitute k equals 4 into equation number 1. So equation number 1, h equals 3 times k, and in place of the k, I'm going to replace that with the value of 4. So that gives me h equals 12. Okay, nearly done. I have a word problem, so I need to write the answer in word form. Okay, and that is step number 4, is right answer. So I'm going to say Kristen had 4 marbles and Hugh had 12 marbles. And there's my solution.